Hello everyone, welcome back to PythonVibes YouTube channel. We are going to start a new series called Python Tutorial, and that would teach us the Python concepts from the scratch. So let's get start our video with the first and foremost concept, nothing but the variables. So in this video we are going to see what are variables and some of the best practices related to variables. Let's get into our today's video. So let's see what is a variable. So firstly, what is a variable in Python? So if we have to explain this, we can say these are labeled containers which can store data in our program. Data can be like numbers, text, and boolean values like true or false. So we can say that what are variables? Variables are labeled containers which can store the data in our program. So that data can be in the form of numbers, text, or any boolean values. So let me take an example of how can we create a variable in Python. Here is age. Age equals to 28 and name equals to Kevin and is student equals to true. So here what I am doing, so I am trying to assign the values like 28, Kevin, true into these variables, age, name, and is student. So these are the variables which can hold different data types, like age is holding numbers and name is holding text, or we can say in Python it's a string data type, and is student is holding boolean values, either true or false. So now let's see how can we say that this particular age is being located in our system. So now we will see id. This is one of the function in Python which will help us with the memory address or the memory location where exactly any particular or a specific variable is being located. So let me use this id of age. I just wanted to know where is this id is being stored, and also let me print age value. Let me run on check the values. So age is 28 and it has been pointed to this location in the memory. So now I'm going to change the value of this age and then check id of this particular variable age. So now it's going to give me a different value because the value which I stored earlier was different and now it's been different. And since this is a integers data type and it is a immutable data type, so it's being creating a new memory location, and this particular age value 30 is being pointed out to this particular 296 address in the memory location. So this is how we can even reassign the values to variables. And this one is checking memory address. Let's move on to the next step, which are rules. So there are few rules which we can keep in mind while naming any variable. What can we do here? So the first and foremost rule we should remember is variable name should start with either small a to z or capital A to Z or underscore. This is the starting letters of our variable names. We will see the second rule, which is nothing but this variable names can contain numbers, letters, or underscores. So these are the things which are allowed while naming any variable. So now we will see what are the good way of naming any variables. Like here the first example, first underscore name utilizing underscore in middle, and also the first letter in this variable is a small case letter and we don't have any other things. So these are the things we are allowed to do it here. Just any meaningful name, age is okay and list 2 is okay. So these are the things are allowed in Python while naming any variables. And now we will see don'ts. What are the things we cannot do while naming any variable? Variables shouldn't contain special characters, like we have @ symbol, hash symbol, dollar. So there are many special characters, right? So those are not allowed in the variable names. And we will go to second rule, which is nothing but we cannot use reserved keywords as variable names, as variables. So these are the two things we can keep in mind. These are the main rules, you can say, while naming the variables. And I will also give some examples, like bad way of naming variables. Like we told that the variable should start with letters or underscore, right? But right now I am trying to use the number as a first word, first character. So second name, this is not a proper way of keeping the variable name. And now we will use another example, like @username. This is not allowed in Python as it contains special character. And also let's take first name, and here space is there, and space is a special character, and that is not allowed in Python. So these are a few examples we can keep in mind. And also for better understanding, we can refer the PEP8. It will help us to maintain high coding standards even while naming any variables or defining functions. So all that is recommendations and all are mentioned in this PEP8 style guide. So now we will see some best practices what are being mentioned in the PEP8. So in day-to-day coding life also, it is always recommended to keep in mind all these best practices. Firstly, we can use the variable names in English, because English is being a global language, right? So everybody will understand English, and if somebody wrote any code and another person has to debug, and if so English is a global language and they can understand, and they can debug and fix the issues. So it's always recommended to use English language while naming the variables, unless you have a specific reason to use the native languages. And second thing is, we should use descriptive and meaningful variable names. Meaningful variable names. So this is the second thing. Like let's take, I wanted to store my name in a variable. So I just give a name. So if I would give, instead of name, I would just name it like this. Nobody will understand what is this what is this variable is holding. So if I would keep this name as a name, then it is pretty simple and easy to understand what this particular variable is about and what kind of data it's going to store. So it's easy to understand. So that is one recommendation and one of the best practices, you can say. And next we can use the for the constant values. We do have some constant values, right? Like pi value. So in this case, if we are storing any constant values, it's always recommended to use the uppercase letters separated by, words should be separated by underscore. So this thing we can keep in mind. Whenever we wanted to store the constant values, it's always recommended to use capital uppercase letters. And if we have more than one letter, one word, we can use underscore. We'll move on to the fourth one, where we should avoid long names. Long names we should avoid. We shouldn't keep a very long names for our variables. And also we should avoid single characters variables like I or O. Sometimes people will get confused these characters with 1 or 0, and it would be difficult for when we get some confused, it would be difficult to get debug things done. So it's always not recommended to use I and O, this kind of single letter characters to store the variables, but we can use it in the iterations like if we take for I in range of 10, and then if you want to print the I value, we can use here whenever we are in the we are using the iterations, there we can use, there is no restriction as such. So but when we were storing it, it's always better to avoid the single characters as a variables. So that's all, guys. In this video we have seen what is a variable and how to define a variable and how to store a values into the variables. And we have also checked where exactly any particular variable is being pointed out and how to reassign the values to the variables. And also we have seen rules like what are the things we can do and what can't be done in Python while naming the variables. And I have also shown some examples of good variable names and bad variable names. And also I have shown some best practices from the Pepet style guide, so where it will be maintaining all the coding standards. So that's all guys. I hope you have enjoyed this video. Kindly like, share and subscribe to Python Vibes YouTube channel. Thank you guys. Thanks for watching. Happy coding.